Warning: this episode contains strong allegations against the United States government. This purely opinion and speculation.
Trump must win and ship the immigrants back to their country of origin. Right? None of these caravans attempted to reach the southern border before the 2024 presidential election. The Mexican military is facilitating the caravans just ahead of the U.S. election to save face with the Harris-Biden administration. The Biden administration struck a deal with Mexican authorities in December 2023 to force ship the immigrants further south to cities like Tapachula and save the embarrassing scenes of thousands of immigrants under bridges before the presidential election. To comply with the Harris-Biden directive, Mexico is providing military police escorts to hold back the migrants from reaching the southern border and spare Biden from political embarrassment before the 2024 election until after the election. First order of business when Trump wins is to fix our elections. If Trump does not handle this immediately, it will never happen and Republicans will be forever locked out of the White House. Trump needs to make ballot harvesting illegal. This means CA and others must stop it. END all early voting unless you can prove you cannot physically make it to vote in person, via medical records. Election day a national holiday. Voter ID is required nationwide. Proof of citizenship is required nationwide. No more voting machines and internet, all paper ballots, all signatures verified. Results from all states were known on election day and a president announced that night. And make all these things laws in such a way that Democrats cannot change them when they get in the White House again. If our elections are not fixed, they will be forever stolen every single election. Trump must win this election if America is to pull itself out of the black hole that is currently in. Its spiraling debt. Its orchestrated division. Its health crisis. Its uncontrolled spending on non-citizens. Its involvement in every conflict except its own.
Nothing worth doing ever came easy.
Treat the word impossible as nothing more than motivation.
Never, ever quit. Never quit. Adversity makes you stronger. Don't give in, don't back down, and never stop doing what you know is right.
They want to take away my freedom because I will never let them take away your freedoms. They're not coming after me, they're coming after you, and I just happen to be standing in their way.
When they couldn't beat him, they tried to bankrupt him.
President Trump is back in a New York City courtroom.
When that didn't work, they tried to put him in federal prison.
Raided by the FBI.
When that didn't work, they even tried to kill him.
He just tried to kill President Trump.
Donald Trump still stands, ready to fight, ready to win, and ready to make America great again.
This is Donald Trump's house, brother.
This election, we all get to choose. I'm going to choose real American leadership and a real American badass. The 45th and soon to be 47th President Donald J. Trump.
Starting on day one, we will defeat inflation quickly and we will make America affordable again. I will cut your energy costs in half. It's time for the working man and woman to finally catch a break. We are going to bring back the American dream, bigger, better, and stronger than ever before.
When I'm back in the White House, we will restore world peace, and it will be again peace through strength. I will launch the largest deportation program in American history.
And we'll put these vicious and bloodthirsty criminals in jail or kick them the hell out of our country. November 5th, 2024 will be Liberation Day in America.
We all salute the same great American flag. Our best days are yet to come.
Together, we will make America great again.
Satanic abortion destruction rituals institutionalized in the USA. The Satanic Temple is fundraising for a second telehealth clinic to offer free religious abortion services in Virginia, following a similar clinic in New Mexico.
Why did the Supreme Court do the right thing and overturn Roe v. Wade just under the Constitution and kick it back to the states?
One of the reasons why this issue is so hotly contested in the United States is that it wasn't decided by the people through the democratic process of the legislatures. And now it will be. And it will go to the states, where those states will be able to reflect the will and the views of the people who live there.
Well, a lot of reasons. But the big one is that we have 3D modeling and 3D scans in HD for now 20 plus years of babies in the womb, sucking their thumbs at even 2-3 months, playing, dancing, and we know that's a human. And then you've got the pro-abortion crowd saying it's a satanic sacrament in court, saying we're going to kill those little bastards, wearing shirts, celebrating, yeah, I killed my baby, I'm going to kill more.
Yeah, I would murder them. I'll slit their throats if I have to.
And really showing us how sick and evil they are in their cult of death. Now, it's not a total overturn of Roe v. Wade saying that it's illegal. Well, states can't announce slavery's legal again.
The statement has been made that the government has a right to come in your home and tell you as a woman and as a family what you should do with your body.
This is not about freedom or personal choice.
Get vaccinated.
We also know that we've had a history in this country of government trying to claim ownership over human bodies.
Exactly.
States can't announce that they can take your guns. States can't announce any of that in our republic system. It was the left's celebration of killing babies up to their due date. And then multiple states, like New York, passing laws you could kill babies for weeks after birth.
I'm talking about your bill. How late in the third trimester could a physician perform an abortion if he indicated it would impair the mental health of the woman?
So, through the third trimester. The third trimester goes all the way up to 40 weeks.
Okay, but to the end of the third trimester.
Yep, I don't think we have a limit in the bill.
Where it's obvious that a woman is about to give birth. She has physical signs that she is about to give a birth. Would that still be a point at which she could request an abortion if she was so certified?
Mr. Chairman, that would be a decision that the doctor, the physician, and the woman would make.
I understand that. I'm asking
point.
if your bill allows that.
My bill would allow that, yes.
And people were like, what the hell is this? And finally started waking up out of their comas.
I am Dr. Bernard N. Nathanson, formerly the director of the largest abortion clinic in the Western world. And I am the last surviving founding member of NARAL, the pro-abortion organization which brought legal abortion to the entire United States. I am personally responsible for over 75,000 abortions. We founded NARAL in the late 1960s with our purpose to export our pro-abortion mentality everywhere. To achieve that end, we adopted the strategy to deny what we knew to be true, that abortion kills an existing, living human being. We denied that fact in an effort to mislead the American public and the courts of this land. This was the greatest mistake of my life, and legal abortion was the greatest mistake this nation has ever conceived.
This shows in this sea of evil and corruption and collapsing borders and devalued currencies and pedophilia and world government attacks on the family and all of it, that humanity is coming back.
So to get you prepared with relevant context, here is a short clip from the 1975 Bryanston Distributing Company horror classic, The Devil's Reign, to demonstrate what I'm about to tell you.
Devil's Reign. The 300-year search for the power to damn mankind is over. And the towering terror of the devil on earth is now unleashed. hundreds of souls held captive in an eternity of hell.
You, my son, have defiled all that is holy.
Mother, my God, my God!
As the Christian Broadcasting Network reported on October 23, 2024, the Satanic Temple is fundraising for a second telehealth clinic to offer free religious abortion services in Virginia, following a similar clinic in New Mexico. The Virginia clinic, named the Right to Your Life Satanic Abortion Clinic, will provide abortion-inducing drugs under the guise of safety and affordability, with an average cost of $91 per abortion. Various voices, including pro-life activists and former abortion clinic staff, express regret and concern over the deceptive nature of chemical abortions, emphasizing the negative impact on women's health and the significance of motherhood, while condemning the use of satanic rituals in the abortion process. CBN continues. According to a Satanic Temple document shared with the Christian Post, the group describes abortion as part of a destruction ritual that serves as a protective rite, noting preparations for the abortion ritual include reading or listening to stories from those who advocate for abortion as a way to subdue any stigmas a woman might feel entering the clinic. The Satanic Temple, headquartered in Salem, Massachusetts, of course, calls the satanic abortion ritual a spiritual experience designed to instill confidence and self-worth in accordance to the Satanic Temple's religious beliefs. John Bound reporting for Infowars.com.
The Democrats are openly ordering the U.S. military to prepare for martial law and the killing of American citizens by U.S. troops. Meanwhile, with no evidence, they are claiming Trump is just going to do what they are currently doing. You can't make this stuff up. Alex Jones is sounding the alarm, saying that desperate Democrats are promoting civil war and martial law, authorizing the U.S. military to kill citizens. He urges support for Elon Musk and Trump, warning that the deep state is now out in the open. He believes the period between the election and Trump's potential inauguration is the most dangerous, and calls on patriots to pray for protection. He emphasizes that Trump is the only defense against their plans. The fight for America has truly begun.
In 1863, Republican President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, which freed slaves held in the Confederate States. The 13th Amendment to the United States Constitution took effect in December 1865 and finally ended slavery throughout the United States. That year, the Ku Klux Klan was founded. Historian Eric Foner observed that basically the Klan was the military muscle behind the agenda of the Democratic Party, the plantation owner class, and all those truly afflicted with a mental disorder that is racism. The Klan's purposes were to reverse the interlocking changes sweeping over the South during Reconstruction, to destroy the Republican Party's infrastructure, undermine the Reconstruction state, reestablish control of the black labor force, and restore racial subordination in every aspect of Southern life. By any means necessary, the Klan sought this agenda by threats and violence, including the murder against black and white Republicans.
There are a lot of people who wrote these eulogies for Senator Byrd in the newspapers, and I read a bunch of them, and they mentioned that he once had a fleeting association with the Ku Klux Klan. And what does that mean? I'll tell you what it means. He was a country boy from the hills and hollows of West Virginia. He was trying to get elected.
He was fiercely devoted, as you've all heard, to his principles. Even once he became power, he always spoke truth to power, standing up for the people he proudly was part of. You know, folks, lynching is pure terror, enforcing the lie that not everyone belongs in America and not everyone is created equal. Pure terror to systematically undermine hard-fought civil rights. Innocent men, women, children hung by a noose from trees, bodies burned, drowned, castrated. Their crimes: trying to vote, trying to go to school, trying to own a business, lynched for simply being black, nothing more. With white crowds, white families gathered to celebrate the spectacle, taking pictures
of the bodies and mailing them as postcards. Hard to believe, but that's what was done. And some people still want to do that.
I will defend myself from violent KKK, black supremacist, Antifa, or anybody else that tries to hurt my family, and I will put down as many people as I have to protect my family and no more.
Age 3. Joseph Martinez, age 8. Audrey Martinez, age 13.
Yeah, the toothless white trash and their federal Gestapo controllers are not welcome here in Central Texas where the real patriots reside.
I respect China's achievements, which are tremendous over the last over 40 years. The Chinese model is certainly a very attractive model for quite a number of countries.
Real super hardcore evil demons have taken over, and they've already got China and 1.5 billion people.
I'm here to meet one of the 10 million people who've seen the dark side of the social credit system. Investigative journalist Leo Hu. His poor social credit rating has shut down his travel options and confined him to effective house arrest in Chongqing.
WeChat started as a messaging app. Then it transformed into Chinese Facebook, and then it added a ride-hailing service similar to Uber to its platform, and then it added banking services to its platform, and now you can use it as an ID. This will make your life very convenient, but at the same time, it also becomes very convenient for state security to track you. To combat message interceptions, they talk through emojis. A half-fallen rose means someone has been arrested. A dark moon means they are going to prison camps. A sun emoji means they are alive, and a flower means they have been released.
China is positioning itself to lead the world in artificial intelligence. Surveillance technology is a key proving ground. Facial recognition, body scanning, and geo-tracking, matched with your personal data and online behaviour, will power the social credit system, leaving no dark corner to hide in.
That's the coolest thing ever.
So this is already being set up for a long time. Now they're getting ready to go, oh, you didn't know? Under law, there's a whole history of what you search and what you do and where you go. We're talking about a republic that we're losing, and it's being destroyed by design. And now global corporations think we're a bunch of dumb animals, and they'll incentivize accepting the world government, cashless society, programmable central bank digital currencies, and ESGs and the rest of them, because we get little credits and little prizes up front to be the first suckers to grease the skids over the cliff into Hades.
Former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, a California Democrat who has been in Congress since the early 1990s, made another unsubstantiated claim about former President Donald Trump just days before the remainder of voters who have yet to cast ballots head to the polls on Tuesday. In an appearance on far-left MSNBC, Pelosi attempted to make the case that Trump's mind is deteriorating on the same level that President Joe Biden's mental capacities have obviously declined. She also claimed that a vote for Trump is really a vote for horrible Sen. J.D. Vance, R. Ohio, Trump's running mate. Ironically, during her interview with Biden's first press secretary turned MSNBC host Jen Psaki, Pelosi herself struggled to answer. I think what the ex-president just said is further indication of his cognitive degeneration. You saw recently how he was talking about whether he chose electrocution or being eaten by sharks. Something is very wrong there, and indicative also is diminishing the power of the press, which is the guardian of our freedom in our country, Pelosi claimed. Though, the media is at its lowest approval rating among the public in modern history, according to recent polling. So I think people might think about voting for him and have to know that he can't last as president for 4 years with his brain deteriorating at the rate it is, and it is clearly evident, and they may be voting for J.D. Vance, which would be a horrible thing for our country, Pelosi continued. Yet, Trump can spend over 3 hours having random conversations on any topic he's asked about without editing. Have multiple rallies in one day. Then you have Biden and Kamala can't hold a 10-minute public appearance without editing or some ridiculous gaffe. Stop the gaslighting.
What's happening now, we couldn't have a better guest on to talk about the pre-programming for what the deep state's going to pull. They've told us they're going to stage violence and blame it on us. They are going to contest the election. If we contest, they're contesting. We're all criminals. We're Hitler. Jamie Raskin says civil war conditions, not going to certify Trump. The other surrogates are saying they want uprisings against Trump because we're white supremacists. That's real people like James Carville on TV saying it. Not, oh, there's a Telegram post about maybe violence at polling places. As there's thousands of articles a week that Republicans are going to attack polling places out of a clear blue sky. So when the attack comes, we pray it doesn't. But that's the next step. It's the next piece of the puzzle. It's right there. 2 + 2 = 4. It's not us. So how do we respond to that? What is he predicting? Really smart guy. Matt Bracken, great to have you here with us. And people can go to your website, enemiesforeignanddomestic.com, enemiesforeignanddomestic.com. Matt Bracken, give us the download.
Well, first of all, I really enjoyed listening to Mike Yoder, and it's not only great information about Arizona. We need brave lawyers like him, because one of the things that our gangster Department of Justice has been doing has been pursuing lawyers that have anything to do with Trump World or the J6 defendants. It's not enough that they go after anybody associated with Trump like Navarro, Bannon, but they go after the attorneys. They're trying to scare attorneys off from representing conservatives, alternative media like yourself. I mean, it's obviously you wrote the book on being pursued by the gangster DOJ. So if they install Kamala next January, all bets are off. The gangster government will be completely emboldened. They'll be off the chain. They won't have to hide anything anymore. But it's a very dangerous and fraught time, because they can't discount the fact that Trump could have such a clear victory that there's no way he's not inaugurated. And you have people on the other side at the Comey, Brennan, Clapper, Garland, Mayorkas level. These guys project what they would do if they were in another position, and they're gangsters. So they're thinking, well, if Trump comes back and he's full of revenge, and I know the crimes that I've committed from the Russiagate hoax on, I could be charged with violation of civil rights, you name it. I could spend the next 10 or 15 years in a federal prison if Trump is elected and they overturn, they take over the DOJ and put patriots in charge. So at that level, these guys that are black ops experts, traitors like Mayorkas that have led the invasion of our country, they would rule absolutely nothing out at this point to prevent Trump from being inaugurated and taking over the DOJ, including kinetic actions to involve airplane poisons, more shootings. I think nothing is off the table. And if it's close, you can see by how they've been trying to pump up the militia, the dangerous, white extremist militia myths. Between the election and the inauguration, I think that we're going to see another level, not just street demonstrations, riots, arsons like we did after George Floyd. I think we're going to see another level of sabotage, because our infrastructure is so vulnerable, especially our transportation infrastructure. We live in a high trust society. That the mechanisms that bring food to the stores, that put the drinking water in your house, these are all mechanisms that essentially are unguarded out in the middle of America, and even in the cities where trains and pipelines run right through our cities. I think we're going to see another level. I think we're going to see sabotage that'll be blamed on militias. It'll be very easy to do, because if Trump is elected, they're going to contest it no matter what. But if Trump is elected and they go on a sabotage campaign, a false flag sabotage campaign, it'll be an attempt to instill some form of a martial law and prevent the turnover of the government. They're going to have to do things on a level that will cause supply chain breakdowns. And I'm just saying that these guys, the Brennans, the Comeys, the Clappers, they live in that world. They live in the world of black budgets and cutouts and covert operations. They've done this overseas as part of their job description. They've brought these tactics home, trying to do color revolutions here in America, rigging elections, false flag operations, which I consider J6 to have been a false flag jujitsu on the J6 gathering. It was flipped into the insurrection, a very clever operation. So I think nothing's off the table, and I would not rule out kinetic attacks on Trump or a campaign of sabotage blamed on right-wing militias that would lead to direct martial law.
I 100% agree with you. Continue and tell us how we stop it or what we can do or how we should mitigate it.
Well, obviously, clearly stay away from anything like provoking militia instigations. I mean, I hear people on social media talking about, like, if they steal the election, is that the go time to pick up arms? I would say absolutely not. We have to let this thing play out all the way through the inauguration. If it's an obvious stolen election, if Trump gets 85 million votes, but Kamala gets 110 million votes, some bogus thing like that, the 3 a.m. injection of votes, and the DOJ is pursuing anybody that tries to contest it, then I still think it's not time to, at that point, take up arms. But I think that there are other forms of protest that we can do, not exactly on a Gandhi level, but there are mass movement methods that can be done outside of direct kinetic street action, such as it's been mentioned that Trump could actually be charged and go to prison, be taken to prison, be asked to turn himself in. Well, it's possible to completely stop a city like New York or Washington just by having 1 million extra people show up in their cars and then drive around the beltways and highways at 10 or 20 miles an hour. It's very hard to figure out who's doing it if you have 1 million cars all suddenly driving 10 miles an hour on the Washington Beltway, which would absolutely bring Washington to a dead stop. And there's very little that could be done about it. The J6 was, I would say, easily 500,000 people assembled for a great day. You were there, obviously, trying to prevent what happened at the Capitol. I was there at the Washington Monument, did not go to the Capitol, could see what was happening, fortunately. But so I'm not in prison right now because I didn't get closer than the Air and Space Museum. But that was a mass people power rally that was turned into the so-called insurrection. And you can see how it was available to do so. You have 500,000 people, you direct a few thousand, open the doors, use provocateurs, get them into the Capitol. But if they tried to do a steal now and 1 million people just showed up in Washington, D.C. driving 10 miles an hour, you can absolutely stop a modern city. And it's very hard to assign blame. There aren't police helicopters ready to winch cars out. You can bring a city to its knees without harming anybody directly. You do get into the situation of ambulances and so forth. But I mean, this is the kind of actions that we can see happening. Sabotage against infrastructure blamed on militias and people power movements to stop cities from functioning if they're, for example, trying to put Trump in jail. It's going to be an amazing couple of months.
Matt Bracken, stay with us. I want to get more analysis from you. I want to make a major announcement. Elon Musk just posted on X, retweeted video of himself today with 6 American flags and the word yes in the center of it. I'm against globalist power. The UN should not have a lot of power. Who voted for them? I didn't vote for them. We want power to the people, maximum power to the individual, Elon Musk. So you and I have done that for decades. But to have Elon Musk out front and center, now being anti-globalist, the hottest thing, populists winning worldwide, massive election fraud being forced out in the open. I want to point out, I'm getting chills right now, we are making more strides a day than we made in decades before when I was on air 30 years ago, sitting at the knee of the literal people that discovered this in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the former head of Air Force Weapons Development, the former head of the FBI in Los Angeles, they were doing seminars, and there was a few talk radio shows talking about, and they were writing books. Almost no one knew. Both my grandfathers knew. My dad knew. My uncle knew. But we were almost nobody then. Ron Paul knew. Now this is the hottest issue. It's the only issue. Elon Musk knows it. And I don't see how the globalists ever reverse this, even if they steal the election. I want to get your take on this. But here is Elon Musk calling out the world government right now. And we're like, well, this is old news for us. Yeah, but this is what success looks like. It takes a while. And this is so exciting. Here it is.
I'm against globalist power. The UN should not have a lot of power. It's like, who voted for them? I didn't vote for them. You know, and it's like, we want power to the people. The power should maximum power to the individual. And so, like, we should not have any sort of international treaties that restrict the freedom of Americans, and we should minimize the amount of federal interference at the state level. So it should be like, so unless it's at the state level, which is something you can influence, then agencies at the federal and the national level should have minimal to zero power over you. Yeah.
And we've got another clip we're pulling in right now. This is breaking fast. If Trump becomes president in 2024, again, it will be the final death blow to the global order. WFF's, you all know Harari, advisor to Klaus Schwab. I mean, they know, Matt, they know this is the big battle, isn't it?
It definitely is. And it's not, obviously, it's not just the United States. If you watch what's happening in Ireland, Ireland is being used as like a laboratory, a guinea pig experiment, because it's a small island, 5 million people. They are flooding that island with fighting age men, setting up military-style barracks camps for them. I mean, with the inside of walls and fences, the Irish people are, other than drone video, you don't know what's going on in them. Britain could be the first Islamic power with nuclear weapons, because at the rate it's going, it's going to be a Sharia country in a decade. And these trends have to be reversed. I mean, all around the world, food is under attack. Farms are being forced out of business. In Britain, they're putting a 20% inheritance tax on farms, so that they have to be sold to the state, turned into solar farms. The solar farms then are zoned for instead of agriculture, they're rezoned as places where you can build mass apartment buildings. I mean, the West is being invaded and attacked. We're in the middle of World War III, and we don't even see the real enemies. I mean, I look at somebody like the DHS head Mayorkas. He was on the board of the Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society. He's an enemy general. He was helping to run the invasion against America. How did he become the head of the Department of Homeland Security? How does an enemy general become the field marshal of your border and your Secret Service? I mean, how does this happen? There is treason up and down at all levels inside of our government. And it's not like old-fashioned, oh, he's a Russian spy, he's a Chinese spy, or an Iranian spy that's part of it. These are globalists, and they have infiltrated our own government at the very highest level. These people at the top, the Garlands, the Blinkens, they do not consider themselves Americans. They consider themselves globalists, and we have to unmask them to take them down. And it's great seeing somebody like Elon Musk, who's now willing to pick up the lance and get on the horse and charge, because, frankly, if Kamala is installed, he'll probably be in prison next year. You might be too. I mean, if they can't take you out any other way. I mean, this is the hinge of history. We're leaning on this hinge of history right now. And people that say, well, Trump is just another stooge or another puppet, come on. I mean, if I have a choice, if I'm in an airplane, I would rather have, everybody has seen the movie Flight. I would rather have drunk Denzel Washington flying the plane. He's trying to land it in the field. He's not perfect. He's got flaws. The other pilot wants to fly it straight into the mountain. We don't have a choice of the perfect pilot.
Yeah, what would you say to the 32 million Christians in a national survey that won't vote for Trump because he's not perfect? They're literally voting for our own destruction. It couldn't be more obvious.
Obviously, and we don't have a choice of Sullenberger or Jesus Christ flying the airplane. The choice is drunk Denzel Washington, who at least has some flying skill and wants to land it in the field, right? It won't be pretty. There's not going to be a perfect landing, and America is back to, Reagan's Morning in America. But we have a fighting chance that way. If the other team wins, it's gangster government off the chain. They will censor social media. They will pass laws like in England where people are in prison for years for social media posts. That is coming if the other side is in the White House. So even if Trump, nobody can just fix the economy with the debt that we have. But at least taking over the Department of Justice can make the break that Mike Yoder was talking about. There have to be prosecutions. There has to be some kind of punishment for the people that ran the Russia hoax, that paid for all this false testimony, for the judges that are working and colluding with attorney generals and to imprison Trump and others. There has to be punishment for these people. If they can get through with Kamala Harris, who's just an empty vessel, she never won an actual election.
She was installed. There's a coup.
Life.
We got to go to break. Do 5 more minutes with us. And then Dinesh D'Souza's coming up. I meant to take calls. We'll come right back to you, Matt. We're going to break in about a minute and a half here. Let me just say this. I want to remind listeners, I want to have 100 million viewers, and we've done this before on the election. We can do it again. We've had some shows weeks ago with 40 million viewers just on X a day, tens of millions on radio stations here. We're going to do it again. I need everybody to go to Real Alex Jones on X and InfoWars on X and share the live feed and say, here's the uncensored, unvarnished analysis and truth with the best guest of what's happening. I'm going to be on today till 3. Owen's on till 6. We're going to launch another feed from the Alex Jones Network at AJN live from 8 to 10 with all the latest to give you a recap tonight. Then we're back at 8 a.m. tomorrow with Harrison Smith, myself, Owen, huge raft of top guests, all of the best analysts that have the best record of being accurate, like Matt Bragg and Roger Stone, the list goes on and on. Other huge guests. And we'll go as late as we need to, overnight if need to, tomorrow night. And then if it's contested, which the Democrats say it's going to be, we're going to continue on here. And we could be shut down in 8 days. So it is just a wild time to be alive. This is the most important time in all of our lives right now. The hinge of history, as Matt Bracken said. And I can hold these people off legally, and I can continue on. And Matt's absolutely right. Going into the future, they're coming for me, and that's okay. I just want you to know I'll never back down. I'll never give in, but I could give out. I need your financial support. This is a war. Trump's been outspent 3-1. He's still beating him. I don't have anywhere 1/1000th of that money. I don't have Musk money. I've got you, but we have a giant audience, and we're so critical in this fight. So get everybody you know and those you don't know to tune in to the live feeds today and right through the next week. That's what you can do with your energy, and I respectfully ask you to take action now. This is about self-preservation for all of us. This is a war. This isn't some entertainment or some side issue. This is it. We're over the target. We're the zeitgeist. You're the zeitgeist. And go to the AlexJonesStore.com and get some T-shirts, get some great supplements now. I need money with our sponsor to be able to continue on, and we do not have the funds we need approaching 8 days from shutdown to do it. This is the most critical request I've ever made. I need support now. This is a marathon fight. We're reaching the peak of the battle now. Patriot, who I met with up in Pennsylvania, in Reading a few months ago at the Tucker event, we had him on about his lawsuit in Arizona to force the not hundreds of thousands, now it's millions of names they're trying to keep secret. In the last 2 elections, it's grown up to over 1 million names in Arizona, and they're fighting like the devil to never release it. They have all the names. And there's been county officials and things that spot checked it and were able to see it, and it's just full of dead people, illegal aliens, and just fake names. Like California, people's cats voting. And when this comes out, the federal judge ordered it released today. When this comes out, it just totally proves 2020 was stolen and whatever they're about to do there. So we are so close. That's why they've got to stage terror attacks, blame it on us, try to bring in martial law, because they're going to get caught whether they steal this from Trump or not. The Republicans are on this. Trump got control of the RNC. They've been doing light years better than they did 4 years ago. There was no ground game or no investigation and nothing, according to Roger Stone, who is the expert on the Shishte. And I mean, I'm an expert too, but not like him on elections. And now he says it's A+ compared to what it was. And then you've got all these citizen groups and all these different legal groups like Mike Yoder, Citizen AG, that are just fighting with everything they've got and just having success after success after success. I mean, he's got state investigations going all over the country now, including Texas with Paxton, off of this database the Democrats tricked people a decade ago into putting in like it's a database company for election integrity, and it's a fraud database so illegals and others can vote, and they're in control of 20 plus, it was 30s, they've lost some now, databases so that they can have fraud on them. I mean, it's just insane. And then, I can't get over this, I'm going to keep repeating it because it's not getting a lot of traction, it should. Oh yeah, the Pentagon said 2 days ago, yeah, we didn't give any absentee overseas ballots, first time ever in modern history, just since absentee ballots were had overseas. Nope, sorry, you just don't get them, period. But illegal aliens can vote. And again, there's that baked-in lie that, wait a minute, illegals don't vote. I heard CNN say that. Oh, that's why you've had all these federal judges rule illegal aliens can vote in all these states? And then you've got the wake-up call of the Supreme Court last week saying, okay, well, in Virginia you can't vote, pull them out the rolls. So this thing is so close, not just the election. I mean, Trump's winning by a landslide because of fraud, it's close. And as Trump said yesterday, I'll play the clip like 10 times, they're fighting so hard to steal this damn thing. So Mike Yoder joins us, and it's not just what's happening in Arizona. Federal judge orders Arizona release voter roll records. Judge orders Arizona release names of voters affected by the glitch. You can't see their names or who they are. Pennsylvania Supreme Court rules that undated ballots won't be counted in presidential election. Because that's the key they're doing in Georgia and Nevada. And at least they had the fake Supreme Court ruling last Monday to say, okay, well, Nevada can, for 3 days, can count ballots with no postmark, meaning they can produce whatever they need after the fact. Georgia just said, oh, there's no law. They don't have a Supreme Court saying it. They just say, yeah, we're just going to keep counting and keep stuff. They just, an election official announcement in Atlanta. So, like there's no law in Texas. The law says non-citizen IDs can't vote. Secretary of State 5 weeks ago says, yeah, they can. It's in the news. Houston Chronicle, Dallas Morning News. I can show you the video of the AG saying it. See, so people are finally like, what? Elon Musk and Alex Jones are right, the illegal aliens, and now Joe Rogan's seen the proof and says, yeah, they did steal the elections, and they aren't. See, the dam has broken. But let's not start celebrating yet, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. Because if you think the evil, corrupt system hanging on by its fingernails isn't going to stage a bunch of violence and blame us, which they now say is imminent, exactly as I told you, they set the table for this. They've cast us as the villains. If you don't think they're going to pull some major shenanigans after they already tried to kill Trump twice we know of, then I don't know what to say. And people say, okay, what do we do? Well, we expose it. They're the bad guys. They have the history. They're the ones talking about uprisings and Civil War conditions. They're going to contest the election. And then if we contest them trying to steal it, we're stealing it. It's amazing. So Mike Yoder, thanks for the short notice coming on. Congratulations on your big victory in your lawsuit over the weekend. I know you're up to date probably more than anybody. You know, I mean, you're in the top guys with your nose to the grindstone as a lawyer and researcher and civil rights activists for our voting here in this country. So tell us about Arizona and how big this is. And then it looks like the beginning of the end for these folks, unless they bring in total martial law later. regardless how you slice this, even mainline analysts say the system's screwed. They know those are fraudulent people. That's why they're trying to keep it secret, like the 500,000 in Michigan. They admit are fraudulent, but they're going to leave on. I mean, this is a come-to-Jesus moment right now. How would you quantify this moment in your own words, and then tell us about Arizona?
I mean, Arizona is one of the worst states in terms of the voters that are on their rolls in what's called an unknown status. Georgia's over 1 million. I mean, when I say millions, it's not an exaggeration. I mean, there's literally tens of millions of ineligible voters on rolls throughout this country. And Arizona, that 1.2 figure was after giving concessions at every single level that we could in favor of the state, and after reducing every conceivable possible voter in any way, shape, or form. The number that, objectively was probably closer to 1.9 million was at 1.2 million. And that's just to show how bad it truly is with states not maintaining their rolls. And at the hearing, I wasn't there. Our director of litigation, Nicole Pearson, as well as Alex Culloden, were the two attorneys that argued the case in court. But at the hearing, the Secretary of State didn't even bother showing up. The judge laid into them for that. And then come to find out, he just blatantly had lied to us, told us the records didn't exist in writing. That's what his office said. And come to find out, there's 1.2 million of the records, exactly what we asked for, that do exist. And the court ordered that they produce them to us. So a lot of people have asked, what implication does this have in terms of this election? And a lot of people are saying, oh, well, it's too late. It's too late. Well, first and foremost, we only learned about this in light of what had happened and transpired with the Arizona illegals and the forced records that were being forced to be given over thanks to America First Legal. So we only had a short time frame to get this out and do the work on it. We filed suit last week and we got the order in less than a week. But point being is that even if they cast a vote, there's still a certification process. There's still a period of time where we have the ability to ascertain who is or who is not an eligible voter. And we will know each and every one of them that is voting illegally. We will know if the vote is fraudulent. And we also have all the data. We already have data of the individuals, and we can tell you where they live or not. And we will be able to move forward and strike out any unlawful vote in that state. And we have 1.2 million people that should have been removed, or alternatively, should have been activated if they had voted in 2020 or 2022. But the bottom line is, out of that 1.2 million, they're unequivocally based under federal law. Not one of them should have been listed on the voter rolls as an inactive voter, and only those who actually voted in 2020 or 2022 should have been reactivated. And the chances that they did not reactivate someone that did actually vote are slim to none. So that's 1.2 million names that shouldn't be on those rolls.
And as you said, same crap everywhere. But a lot of the analysts I'm reading, and I agree with them, say this is a devastating victory. And the same thing is now happening in Pennsylvania. What do you make of Pennsylvania saying they're not going to accept these made-up, unpostmarked ballots after the election? You heard me trying to quantify how good the Republican mitigation of the fraud has been beforehand. Will it be able to dampen the mass fraud that is baked in to ensure the Trump victory?
I think that we're seeing a pile on more so than we've seen before in terms of the litigation side. I think there's a lot of lawyers that are actually getting involved. I think that the postmark ballots, it's kind of hard to comment on those things because it's just so common sense. I mean, I can't conceptualize a reason that something that's either not postmarked at all or postmarked after the date of the election. I mean, in what realm is there any other aspect of our lives where something can be dated past the deadline and it's just deemed to be accepted? I mean, I can't think of anything. I mean, even in like middle school with your homework, it's late. Point being, that's how it works.
And let's be clear, it's the same tactic.
I think it's a straightforward response.
Exactly.
But I think it's going to make a big difference because they can't just add those numbers in. And we saw those overnight spikes like we did before. And a lot of those spikes were coming from something called provisional ballots, which we've just discovered yesterday too, which we're now going to be looking into as well.
Tell us about that in a moment, but let me just throw in my point. And of course, you know this, but for the audience that may not, most of the audience is as informed as we are, so most of you get it. But for those that don't get it, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Arizona, Nevada, all the battleground states, it's the same. These Democrat harvesting groups dump these masses of so-called voter registration garbage a day before or 2 days before so that no one has time to go through them, but the states are going through them and are finding the majority are fraudulent. I mean, we played the election officials and the district attorneys, all over the country going, no, most of these are fraudulent. So they do it right before the deadline too, to try to swamp and get it through.
Yeah, and I mean, there's ballots that are being dumped. You have digital fraud that we can statistically prove. I mean, in Arizona in 2020, there were 16 counties that had identical regression lines, and there were different races. There were state versus federal. There were sheriff's races versus congressional seats. I mean, the regression lines were 100% identical, and it's almost as if like it's a plane coming into land, where if you're a little bit too far back, you have to speed up to get on that perfect trajectory downward, where the point is already set where they need to hit that margin of victory ahead of time, and that's how they infiltrate that with the numbers. And you can switch the votes. It was done internally. They were able to prove that. And what we're seeing now is that in 4 different states, the margin of victory was to the exact ballot, the same identical number of provisional ballots that were ultimately rejected in 4 different states, which is absolutely a mathematical miracle if it were to ever happen. But the provisional ballots are something that's also being used, and a lot of people don't even know what a provisional ballot is. So, and I can go into that if you want me to, but it's just
please
absolutely
do.
shocking
Musk about an hour ago.
this is, and it needs to be addressed.
Another area, Musk about an hour ago put this out. The reports are flooding in. They're being confirmed everywhere. Democrats who've never had a trouble doing their mail-in ballot, their absentee ballots, are now finding that when they vote Republican, they're being rejected. And that's what you're saying is it's these election officials have a lot of ways to cheat and to slice off votes.
I mean, election law is the most complex and politically charged, dirty realm of law that I've ever, been involved in. And the thing about it, the best way I can explain it is think of it like a maze that takes you 2 years to go through and check every single corner to see if there's a door as the exit. There's never a door, but it takes you all the way through that 2-year period to check every single spot till you realize there isn't a door out. And the problem with that is that as soon as that 2-year period comes up, they start changing the rules again because you have a congressional race every 2 years. So the law is always changing. It's changing at the federal level. It changes at the state level. It changes at the county and municipal levels. Then you have people disregarding court orders. You have county boards like you see in Fulton County, where we even had the woman who was the former chairman of the Board of Elections in Fulton County state that they, quote, never conduct an independent search for anybody, dead people, felons, people who live out of state. And it's just cavalier. They just absolutely disregard the law. And the only way I think that this is ever going to get fixed in the long run is if Trump is in office and he does an absolute massive overhaul of the election structure within this country, because it is so just absolutely plagued with corruption, and it's so deep that there's no way to unroot it, unfortunately, ultimately. But I think we are able to, get through, especially when you look at what a fair election is. And that's at the end of the day all we want. No one's trying to suppress votes. No one's trying to keep people out of being able to vote for the candidate of their choice. All we want is that Americans, and only Americans, choose the 47th president of the United States, and whoever that may be, then we will accept that if it is a fair election. If it's not a fair election, then that needs to be addressed, because that is our right. And if voting is undermined, every other right that we have is illusory.
Do you agree with me, though, that the good news is there is now, the awakening to election fraud and these scams and these mazes they change every 2 years, as you very astutely you gave that analogy. I have trouble quantifying how big this awakening is. It's so big.
Yeah, I think the only difference between the truth and a conspiracy theory is about 6 to 8 months, and sometimes maybe it reaches a year. But otherwise, the fact that it's undeniable, it is so unequivocally in your face that you look silly if you're going to try to deny what is happening. It is getting caught on tape that people are waking up to understanding it. You're seeing people actually capturing it, and you're seeing all the different dirty tricks. There's so many of them. You see the ones where they have a little dot. If there's a dot in the bubble of the circle for Kamala Harris, that would void your ballot if you don't fill the rest of that out. If you voted for Trump, it would void the ballot for another marcation on the ballot itself. So look out for that. And the other thing I was going to say with the provisionals, if you go to the polls and you vote and they give you a provisional ballot, make sure that you follow up by looking online or calling whatever number it is. They have to give you written instructions. Make sure that you follow up to confirm that your ballot was received and counted. If you don't do that, There's no way to know if you're just going to assume that people are good, that people are doing the right thing, that when you vote and you hand over your provisional ballot, it'll get tabulated accordingly. Unfortunately, that's not the case. And there's so many people that just have a level of cognitive dissonance because they can't imagine such evil in this world. They can't imagine the type of like just blatancy, I guess would be the best way to put it. So it's real. And that's what I'm trying to say is do not take it for granted. Don't be lazy. Don't bury your head in the sand. If you have a provisional, make sure you follow up to look online and see what happens if you do turn it in there. And, you know, the masses are waking up to realize the hell that it is that we've been fighting for the last, I don't know, you've been doing it for decades. I've been doing it for the last 5-6 years.
Mike Yoder, who just had a huge success, folks just joined us or tuning in Arizona, 1,200,000 people that are in there that they won't say who are. And they've been fighting for years to block this coming out. Now the federal judge got pissed off and said, you are releasing it. We've got all the vote flipping around the country confirmed from straight Republican to straight Democrat. It's insane. But two big things that everybody can get is all these federal judges saying illegal aliens can stay on the rolls. And then the Supreme Court saying take them off in Virginia. People go, oh, they were there? Yeah. And then active duty not being able to have their vote. Oh, sorry, the Pentagon didn't set up for that this election. Never before did they do that. But just this time, sorry, you're not allowed to absentee vote. And we're just going to tell you now on the eve of the election. That's massive vote shaving right there. Illegal aliens can vote, but active duty can't. I mean, that is blatant attempted election theft right there, Mike Yoder.
I think that they know why that the military would not necessarily be a favorable demographic to send ballots to, considering if you look back all the way to what happened in Afghanistan, you look at the comments that were made, you look at just the way that he's treated our troops and the amount of money that's been sent overseas to Ukraine, that's been sent over to Russia, which is, we funded both sides of that war. And I mean, it's absolutely heinous what we're seeing. And if people don't realize that this is the only threat to America really is if we kill it from the inside out. And that's exactly what you're seeing. And right now is our chance to turn that around and prevent it from actually manifesting. But the just corruption runs deeper than either you or I can explain, you know, in the next year, if we were to stay here. But it's real. And the sooner people accept that and start pushing back, posting stuff online, speaking out, and just getting involved, you can't bury your head in the sand anymore. And I think that we're really on the brink of it's either do or die at this point, in my opinion.
No, I agree. 2 weeks ago, a family member who votes all the time, you know, she's been voting forever, 70-something years old, went to vote where she's been going for many elections, and there's dozens and dozens of people, and they say, sorry, the machine's broken. Fill out your ballot and just give it to me. And they all said no. They waited a couple hours, and somebody showed up and like touched the machine, said, oh, it works now. Now you can. Look stage to them. I've heard that from 2 more people now that I personally know in Austin in different polling places. And then I see it reported everywhere constantly around the country in Republican districts and key precincts. What are you seeing in that area?
I mean, it's just another tactic. I mean, a lot of these things aren't necessarily the overt level of fraud where you're seeing literal ballots being dumped in or ballots being thrown out, but they're doing every single thing they can from, I mean, in California where, historically they have been alphabetical, but that you have to hit the down arrow to be able to see Trump's name appear on the ballot if you're voting on the machine. You're seeing there, you tap the name, someone tapped it 10 times and it didn't work. Then they finally tapped it again and it went, clearly tapping on Trump's name and it went to Kamala. So there's every tactic that you can think of because they realize what the margin of victory would be if it were fair. I mean, it wouldn't even be a contest. It wouldn't even be close. And that's because the American people are realizing what's going on. And I think that there needs to be prosecutions. At the end of the day, I do not think that there will ever be substantive change for the long run until there are actual criminal prosecutions. There needs to be accountability. There needs to be actual action taken by our government. And it cannot always just be citizens. There's only so much people like me can do. There's only so much that other attorneys can do. There needs to be accountability at some degree. And I'm hoping that Trump does that if he were to get in office and use his next administration to clean up Washington.
Mike Yoder, just as a citizen, not just a lawyer or a guy that's been in the middle of this fight having a major victories, we all salute you. What is your dead reckoning? What's your gut tell you about what's going to happen? As Trump wins so big, he's the winner tomorrow night. Do they steal Texas and claim she won in an upset? or the main Democrat plan is just to dispute it and string it out weeks, then have provocateurs attack Democrats or poll workers, blame Republicans, and then try to launch a civil war, or do they, it's clear Trump wins, and then the Democrats don't certify it, as their top people have said they won't. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts here. What are you predicting?
What I've experienced is that when they get this flustered, they mess up royally. I think what's going to happen is that Trump would overtly win in a landslide. Whether it's actually reported or not, I don't know. I think that he ultimately does prevail, and I think that as soon as it gets clear that they're not going to be able to, steal this one, they're going to just turn the lights off and flip the tables over, and we'll see what happens from there. But I'm here for whatever it is that we have to go through, but I will fight until January 20th, and that man puts his hand on the Bible and gets sworn in as the 47th president.
I 100% agree with you. I have so much energy and so much concern. I've never in 30 years on air, I barely can even do the show right now because I'm like you. I'm researching this constantly. I know how real it is. It's 100% in our face, and I just cannot imagine that these maniacs will get away with this. But at a sick level, Mike, if they're able to steal it and even try to bring in martial law, that's going to be even worse for them. I mean, I don't see any way out for the globalists right now.
I just hope it doesn't come to that. The last thing that I ever want to see happen in this country is have violence, let alone civil violence. I do not want to see any sort of wars, but I will die fighting to oppose tyranny, because other than religion and faith in God, that's the most important thing that we can have in life is freedom. And it's extremely important that people take a stand and do the right moral thing to avoid any sort of violence, to always follow the law, to make sure that you're doing what is moral, what's just, and what you're allowed to do within the confines of the law. And I leave that up to God. That's not a decision that I can make. It's not something that I'll ever be the sole determining factor of, but I have faith that God's on our team, and that's all that we need to ultimately prevail.
Mike Yoder, I asked a lot of questions. I know you got a few other key points to add. We'll come back and finish up with you and then shift to news. And Esther Souza and others are coming up. Stay with us. Mike Yoder finishing up. Then we got Matt Bracken, great author, researcher, wonderful analyst, former Navy SEAL, good friend of mine, to give us his intel on the Democrats' open preparation for martial law. We have security fences being put up around the Capitol and areas of D.C. We've got a whole bunch of states calling out the National Guard. I'll go through a list of those coming up here in a moment. You got all this hype that, there's anonymous postings on Telegram that the militias are going to attack people. This is a crazy time. Mike Yoder, with all the great work you're doing, for people that just joined us, recapping, you just had a big victory with a federal judge in Arizona and Maricopa County, saying the 1.2 million, or in the state, 1.2 million names that are on the voter rolls that they won't ever release, that we know are dead people and illegals and other stuff, have to be released. It's not a day late and dollar short, because this is spelling their doom. Similar things happening in other states. Any other key tidbits you'd like to add for folks? How do people find your great work?
So I don't want to let too much out right now, but I do have some other things that will be coming out definitely before there's any further shenanigans pulled. I'll just say that. People can find us online. It's @_CitizenAG, both on Twitter and Instagram. It's @_CitizenAG. And then our website is citizenag.org. And Alex, I just wanted to say, we started this organization. There's 4 of us. We started this organization earlier this year. We have bootstrapped everything. The staff that I have been here every night. They've spent countless nights here overnight working to get this stuff done, and I wouldn't be able to do it without them. But imagine what impact we could have if we were able to build out a team that's even bigger, if we were able to have more lawyers that were willing to fight, we were able to have an actual machine to compete with what the left has. And look what we can do as 4 people. So just imagine if we can get that bigger, and it's all, through a nonprofit. It's tax deductible. It's all just focused on restoring our constitutional rights. And I've always said, why are we always having legal defense funds? This time we have a legal offense fund. So if anybody is able to contribute to join this fight, any financial support that we can get for this nonprofit, just $5, $100, $50, I don't care. But we need to have the funding to take on these machines and litigation, because it's extremely expensive. So anyone that wants to chip in and help out, we would greatly appreciate it. You can go to citizenag.org, donate buttons in the top corner. But thanks again, Alex. I appreciate you having me on.
Thank you, Mike.
Hello, I'm making this video on the eve of the election eve, okay? So I'm making this video on November 4th, 2024 at 8:54 p.m. or 2054, however you want to say it. Now, what I'm seeing everything else, the steal is on. The Democrats are trying so hard to steal this election, and they'll go no boundaries to steal it, okay? They do not want a repeat of 2016. They don't want that. And they want to make sure and fix it. Basically, they'll win every presidential election in the rest of U.S. history. But then again, they say, and this be our last presidential election, especially if Kamala Harris gets it, it will be our last, okay? It will be our last. So, too big to rig. Everybody who's supporting Trump must get out there and vote Trump and make sure your vote counts. And when you cast your ballots through those BS machines, make sure your vote was counted. If you voted for Trump, make sure your vote counts for Trump, okay? Now, if you vote for Kamala Harris, make sure your vote counts for Kamala Harris. But especially if you're voting for Trump and you push the little button or a touch screen, whatever, saying that you voted for Trump, make sure it says that you voted for Trump, okay? And do what you have to do it. Me and my wife voted the other day. We voted for Trump, straight Republican. Now, besides all that, with all the election fraud, stuff like that, and I'm going to take a very big chance. I'm going to upload this video on YouTube as well. Normally, I don't upload these videos on YouTube, but tonight I'm taking that chance. See what happens. But one thing about it, I stitched one of the videos at the very beginning about abortion. Now, abortion is a Democrat's holy grail, okay? That's their leap of faith, abortion. They performed an abortion, when I stand in the van outside the rally during the Democratic convention, basically. Yes, during the Democrat convention, right outside, they perform abortion. They're handling abortions like candy. Okay, treated like candy, like it's beyond a sacrificial right. It's like a religious experience to them. Let's put it that way. That's what it's like, these Democrats, these libtards. It's like religious. Yes, so far the Satanic Temple, basically made up of atheists and whoever, just rebel rousers going against Christianity, Abrahamic religions, basically, saying abortion is a religious right, because they include abortions now in their satanic ceremony, destruction ceremonies, basically. It's everything's anti-God is in that temple, basically, Satanic Temple. So the one thing the Democrats will cling on to with their cold bare hands, one of the few things I would say, few things that they hold on cold bare hands, basically, is abortion. Besides J6, but I'm not talking about J6 in this video, basically. I'll talk about that later. But the Democrats will cling on abortion, they'll run on abortion, and they'll get everybody riled up on abortion. So much so they think it's beyond a human right. It's like the ultimate woman experience, female experience, to have abortions. So, it's kind of concerning to have all these young college girls or college women will go vote for their so-called abortion rights, not even knowing what they're doing to themselves, basically, that they're doing more harm to themselves than anything else by performing these activities. Let's put it this way, okay? And especially they're thinking that they're doing it in the name of some kind of religion. This is doing more harm than good. Especially you see women out there wearing t-shirts that says, I had 21 abortions. That is psychotic. That's almost like serial killing, in my opinion. But, I would say I don't want abortion totally illegal. I do not. But this is go beyond a realm of sanity right here, basically. Especially what's going on right now with this voter, want illegals to vote, basically, They're holding immigrants back right now, these illegals back right now, because they don't want no embarrassments right now, if I understand. So they don't want no massive border crossings right now after the election, because they want to save themselves from embarrassment, basically. And the Democrats are running kind of scared right now. Like I said, they're like rabbit dogs back in the corner, so they're coming out biting. So the Democrat Party in this election, like 2020, all bets are off. They're even more nervous because we know we're watching them like hawks now. We're paying close attention right now. You have law firms, thank God, stuff like that is paying very close attention to these elections, what's going around the country. So Democrats know they cannot cheat like they can in 2020. They know they can't do that. They know they can't really hide it like they used to. So they'll take extreme measures. But don't worry, Democrats have a plan. They have plan A, that fails, plan B and C and D. They have all kinds of plans up their sleeves. If nothing else, they will let Trump take the White House and crash the economy and blame Trump for it. Or, like Alex Jones says, and a few others says, if Trump wins tomorrow or whenever he wins, that, they'll refuse to certify. That means Congress will enact the 14th Amendment, basically, insurrection, and they refuse to certify under those grounds and place Kamala Harris in there, So we better hope and pray that the Republicans retain the House after the election, because Democrats take control of the House, but yet Trump wins. That means the Democrats will not certify him, and they'll put up, and it's out of their word. These are the words come out of their mouths, okay? I'm not making this stuff up. Raskins and a few other Democrats as well, and saying they'll use Civil War-like conditions, basically, to keep Trump out of the White House. So, they have other plans, ulterior motives, basically, okay? And you got to hand to Trump all the fucking stress and all the shit he had to go through the past 9 years, okay? When he first announced his presidential run back in 2015, right on the escalator, announced his run for president, they think he couldn't win. I didn't really think he could win, to be honest with you. But I got more and more into him. I supported him in 2016 hardcore. I paid a heavy price of that, but I'm not talking about me on this one, but I paid a heavy price for that myself. And then, then in 2016, a miracle happened, and he won. And we were always cheering and stuff like that, celebrating Trump supporters that he won. But, we thought it was over. Okay, election season's over. We can go back to life to normal. Oh, no. Democrats weren't having that at all. So, we had the Russiagate, Russian host, right there, that backfired. They had impeachment, quid pro quo about Ukraine, about Burisma, whatever the fuck, you want to call it. They want to impeach him on that. That failed. Then you had J6. I'm going to talk about J6 in this video, but you had J6. They tried to impeach him on J6. That failed. Then after he got out of the White House, it went to his home Mar-a-Lago in Florida. What happened? The FBI raided his home. Okay, and it was so far Merrick Garland authorized lethal force against President Trump. Then all these after he announced his presidential run again, basically in 2019, I believe, that's when all these legal shams came up against him, about J6, Stormy Daniel cases, overvalued his property at Mar-a-Lago, all this stuff, the lawsuits, hitting this guy everywhere they can, all that shit's failing, basically. Presidential immunity, stuff like that, so they all failed. And that New York case is a whole different ballgame, but I'm not talking about, we'll see what happens with that right there. But I don't think the judge could really do much, because that's falling apart on him as well. He fucking knows it. But and I'll digress on that. I'm not going to say that in this video. But, then they did the ultimate. They tried to take him out literally. They had a couple of, I say 3 assassination attempts, in my opinion, The first one, Butler, Pennsylvania. Then, you had where he had to do the emergency landing, basically because his own personal plane, Trump Force One, had to do emergency landing for mechanical issues. I think somebody sabotaged that plane. That's just my personal opinion. We had to take another jet to his rally, I think somewhere out west somewhere. All right. Then the one at Mar-a-Lago, you had the lone gunman basically pointing at Trump, literally looking down a rifle barrel of I think an AK-47, something like that. Well, Trump shoot me there, and this guy was a Ukrainian Azov sympathizer, basically. There's a video of him in Ukraine, basically. Okay? And his son hated Trump with a passion. So, and we'll probably have a few more. Oh, by the way, I think it was Arizona at the border, and Secret Service told him, you need to leave here now. There was somebody at that bar about ready to kill him. So, and I do know that Justin Walter Media said if they really wanted Trump dead, he'll be dead. In a way, he is right. I can't argue with that statement, but I kind of disagree in a damn way, because they keep failing, but they're not going to give up trying to assassinate him. And one of the main things we should be concerned about, I don't know if Trump's planning on flying anytime soon. He's going to just fly back to his home Mar-a-Lago, call it a day. I don't know. But I'm afraid while his plane's in the air, basically, they're going to try to shoot it down, the surface-to-air missile. Or like one guy said, put it like a machine gunner at the end of the runway with a 50 cal. As his Trump Force One says, taking off the runway, or taxi down the runway and start taking off, they can shoot out his engine, stuff like that, crash a plane real easy and take him out that way. There's so many ways they can take this man out. It is unreal. Food poisoning, a suicide vest, which he has some crazy lunatic, basically. Get him one of those rally stuff like that, one of his events, and they try to run up on him, blowing himself up in front of Trump, taking him out that way. There's so many ways to do it. Okay? So many ways. He can be a JFK real easy, I'm afraid. All right? That's, I'm afraid, what they're trying to do right there, mainly. If he does win, and suppose, the Republicans take the House yet again, and Trump, gets certified, they will still try to take him out any way they can. And by the way, there's always World War III. That means right now Iran's not going to do anything after the election. And that's what I understand. That's what they're saying. But this is say, in a few days Trump won the election. Okay, hypothetically. But Iran attacks Israel, and the United States has U-2 bombers in Israel, somewhere in the Middle East, let's put it that way. I don't know where, somewhere in the Middle East right now, on standby. Let's suppose Iran attacks Israel, okay, and the U.S. responds by bombing Iran, basically. Russia jump in. Oh, we're in World War III. Oh, we got to cancel this election because Biden has to stay in office, or Kamala Harris has to step in, basically, over some BS emergency declaration, basically. There's a lot of legal maneuvers they can slide in there to keep Trump out. I can go all day long. I don't want to bore you too long because I have a Dinesh D'Souza attached. I'm going to stitch this video in this one. I advise you to watch it, how they've been going after Trump for all these years, yet Trump is still standing strong. I believe God sent him here for a damn purpose, basically. Trump is not perfect. He has his flaws. I admit that. But he's the best choice we have. And let me tell you something. You look at other biblical figures like David and a few others, famous kings in the Bible. They all have flaws. They all weren't perfect. But God chose them for a reason. And I think God's chosen Trump to be our president for a reason. But let's wait till only time will tell, basically. Because in my opinion, Kamala Harris is a kind of satanic servant, basically. And the only way all these idiots are voting for her is, A, to keep track in their minds, in their little worlds, they're going to keep abortion legal, basically. Okay, abortion is the main thing they're voting for her on. Or she's supposedly a black woman, but she's not, but she claims she is. But she's been caught in so many damn lies, and I want to go into that one right there as well. All righty? But let me I'm going to let this go right here. Watch the Dinesh D'Souza video talking to Alex Jones. It's a very good video. All right? Peace out. Bye-bye. See you later.
Next, visit Infowars.com/show and share the link today.
Well, Dinesh D'Souza is our guest. Of course, one of the top documentary filmmakers of all time. Literally at box office numbers, like the number 2 documentary of all time. DineshD'Souza.com, at Dinesh D'Souza, Dinesh D. D'Souza on X. And he's got a new documentary vindicating Trump that's on X right now on his channel. You should get to everybody you know. But I wanted to get him on just about the epic historic moment. It's totally clear the choice between good versus evil has never been more crystal. The incredible dream team Trump's got. All of the outrageous open illegals voting and rigging and scams, but so much of it's being exposed this time. And then almost everybody I interview now has spent time in prison as political prisoners because they fought the deep state, like Dinesh D'Souza, for doing absolutely nothing wrong on record. Oh, a campaign contribution. Meanwhile, ActBlue's running around money laundering in front of everybody. It's just totally insane. Almost everybody I know, including my co-host Owen Schroyer, spent time in prison for nothing, for being at January 6th, not going in the building. I mean, it's just, and then they have the nerve to say that we're all going to throw them in prison. I mean, this is just wild. So Dinesh D'Souza, great to have you here, my friend. I'm going to try to give you the floor because I'm really fired up today. I imagine you've got, electricity going through you with this most important election ever, hands down. There's so much to cover with your great mind. What do you think is happening right now? What's the big 35,000-foot view that you've got, and then drill into it?
Well, I think that in our politics for a while now, both Trump and Kamala Harris have been wearing a kind of mask. And what I mean is that the Democrats and the media were able to put a kind of Halloween mask on Trump. He's a scary guy. He's an ogre. He's going to do this and he's going to do that. And because of their power to reach people in the culture that our side can't reach, they got enough people to buy into that. And so Trump has been saddled with this kind of scary Halloween mask. And Kamala Harris, by contrast, has the media's sort of makeover mask. And that she's a new Cinderella. She's a new person. She's going to turn the page. She may seem silly in the past, but she's become extremely bright. And she really knows how to run things. So again, you have these two very contrasting pictures that have been put out there. And I think the masks are falling off on both sides. And by that, I mean Trump with his marketing genius. He goes to McDonald's, he serves the drive-through. He has an ability, he drives the garbage truck. And what he's done is he's shown people, hey, I'm not only a normal guy, I'm a self-deprecating guy. I am not the caricature that they've made me out to be. And I think people are seeing that. And similarly, the Kamala mask is falling off and the wheels are falling off. And people realize this woman is giddy. She's unserious. She has no gravitas. She will say literally anything. She's for the Israelis in Pennsylvania and she's for the Palestinians in Michigan. So there's an unscrupulous vacuity to her. And so this is really not a difficult choice. It's a very easy choice. The difficulty is seeing through the fog of the media. I think, Alex, if we had a fair media in this country, Trump would win with sort of Reagan and Nixon type of landslides. But the media is all in for Kamala Harris, and that's the only reason this is a, quote, close election.
And even the New York Magazine and others admit this is a referendum on the establishment who's basically already destroyed. There's a political realignment, not just here, but worldwide. And if they can't now seize control, as Dana White said 2 weeks ago, they've already had a coup installing Kamala. They now want to legitimize that, and then they're going to go for broke. They've said they're coming after everybody. They're going to cut off the energy, carbon taxes to try to bring us to our knees. Cloward and Piven finally being completed. I mean, I know so many big business owners. I know billionaires, people in industry, tech, across the board. They're all planning on a crash if Kamala gets in. I mean, I don't think people understand the hell we're on the edge of, Dinesh D'Souza.
Well, you may be right. I do think that, it's been an old slogan on the left that a regime does not relinquish power easily, and certainly and generally not voluntarily. So the idea that these people, particularly if the world is at stake, right? I mean, they haven't just been making a police state in the United States. They've been making a global police state. I've called it in the past a police planet. And Trump stands in the way of all that. So if Trump gets through, they will go berserk. We can count on that. Now, here's the point. As conservatives and Republicans, our normal tendency is to be sort of terrified by this and to say, oh, wow, these guys are really going to go crazy and we're going to see all this lawlessness and we're going to see all these attempts to cancel out the result of the election. I think we need a little bit of Lincoln firmness here. And what I mean by that is Lincoln's view was that once you win the election, you have now been handed a mandate to stop this kind of subversion, and you have to do it using all means at your disposal. In other words, kind of what Lincoln was saying is what the Democrats have said: never let a crisis go to waste. If they go into an orgy of riots and lawlessness, we should take advantage of that to finally hold them accountable for their actions. They've escaped accountability for years. And this is what's given them the chutzpah to think they can always get away with it. So I think that this may be the time that Trump basically goes, listen, you've been You've been saying I'm going to lock you up, and I'm going to lock you up, but I'm going to do it with good reason.
I agree. I mean, look, it's a responsibility. It's justice. We can't leave this cancer. All the crimes they've committed, they're never going to give up until they are put in prison. So they're the ones that started it. We're the ones that finish it, but we do it with due process. And we've got real stuff, unlike everything they cooked up is all fake. It's the FBI with honeypots, and we knew this years ago, but now it's been totally released, could never get one Trump administration person, even low level, to be a Russian agent. They could never find anybody to be a traitor, Dinesh.
You know, I also think, Alex, if I can add to this point, that one of the ways you teach the left a lesson on free speech, on packing the court, is you sort of start doing to them what they're doing to us. So, you know, they have a proposal to add 4 justices to the court, and it's their way of trying to essentially cancel out our 6-3 majority and create a majority on their side. So what if we win the election and we start introducing some proposals to add 4 justices to the court? We take their idea. Except obviously we have in mind 4 conservative justices, just as they obviously have in mind 4 liberal justices. So suddenly you'll realize that the moment we do that, they will be singing the virtues of having 9 justices. Oh, you're overturning centuries of precedent. Oh, you're changing the rules on us. And our point is actually, no, you introduced a really brilliant proposal. There's nothing in the Constitution that says that we need 9 justices. So we're getting a great idea from you, except now we're going to actually implement it.
What you're saying is so key. Anything they attack, oh, don't prosecute us, you're Hitler. Oh, no, don't do this, is because that's their weak spot. And so whatever they're telling you not to do, that's what you do. But so many conservatives are like, oh, I don't want to get attacked for saying there's election fraud, even though there is. You've got a responsibility to admit it, to clean it up. We should not let them dictate to us. And thanks to Elon Musk and others, and now Joe Rogan's fully joined us, the dam has broken and people aren't intimidated anymore. And you see it. I mean, this is the end of the kleptocratic, psychotic left, not just here, but worldwide. If America rises back up against this peacefully with intellectual and political and spiritual and economic will, we can literally completely defeat these people.
We have to build our own rival ecosystem. We'll really know that we have got the media where we want it. See, right now, even though the media is left-wing, we're on to them, but we still let them set the agenda. They make outrageous claims, and we go up against the wall, and then we defend, and we react, and we say, oh, no, it's not like that. We're not this, we're not that. We really will be where we want. When they say something, we ignore it, which is kind of what they do. See, I mean, I have this film, Vindicating Trump. It's 850 theaters. Not a word about it in the New York Times, not a word in the Post, no mention on CNN. So they believe they have the power to act as if a movie like this does not exist. We don't currently have that kind of power, but we're building it. So when we have that kind of power, they do a big expose in the New York Times. We don't return their calls. We're not quoted in their articles because we don't care what they say. We don't even read what they say. We don't have to react to it because it is literally nothing to us.
Let's talk about your film. I haven't seen it yet. I've seen all your other films. I want to play a trailer of it in a moment. Tell us about this new documentary, Vindicating Trump.
It makes the case for Trump, not just the policies, but also the man. The remarkable thing about Trump is that this is a guy who inspires the most intensely opposite reactions of any public figure I have seen. On the one hand, you have people who will genuinely take a bullet for this guy. And on the other hand, you have people who will cheer, even if silently, if someone tries to put a bullet in him. You have to go back all the way to Lincoln, I believe, to find a figure that produced this kind of radically opposite reactions. And even in Lincoln's case, the division was not over Lincoln the man. It was over the issues, slavery, the extension of slavery, other issues. With Trump, it's over Trump. It's over the man. And so I bring Trump to center stage in the film. There's a book, by the way, of the same title, Vindicating Trump. And I argue that Trump is somehow peculiarly well-equipped and well-suited for the crisis in which the country finds itself today. This guy may not be the perfect guy for any time, but he is the best guy, in fact, maybe the only guy for this time.
You really see the hand of God in it. I mean, the guy is just the energy at 78, everything, the way, I mean, I'm 50 and I've been through a lot, so I've learned to take crap, and so have you, but my God, it really is superhuman.
Which is just another way of saying that this guy has the superhuman level of courage, more than anybody that we can think of. His reaction to the 2 assassination attempts was in a class of its own. But even the way he's powered through these 91 criminal charges, I mean, I think we both know that any other Republican facing 5 criminal charges would have exited the race, quit the field, like never be heard from again. So Trump's ability to not only endure, but he does his rope-a-dope, he kind of wiggles around the gag orders, he forges ahead with a determination that is almost surreal. And the key point also, Alex, is he doesn't have to do it. I mean, if you and I were billionaires, or at Mar-a-Lago, we have our grandchildren, we have this kind of wonderful life ahead of us, and all our troubles would go away. Nobody would be trying to lock us up for life. Nobody would be trying to put bullets in our head. We would be like, you know what, that sounds like a pretty good deal. 99% of people would take that deal, and yet Trump pushes ahead, and I think the only motive must be that he believes that the country is in a bad way and that he is perhaps the only guy who can fix it.
There was a clip that I played 3 times since yesterday. I don't usually watch his rallies because I'm so busy. I see the clips later, but I was here at 11 a.m. That'd be noon in Pennsylvania. He was giving a speech. And he said, you know, a lot of my staff and people, you know, they're too scared to tell you, but they are trying to steal it. And he said, we're up against total criminals. And earlier he said, we're going to win, but they're trying to steal it. But the point is, that's the real Trump, because he can be friendly and happy. And that's the real Trump, too. But behind the scenes, as you know, really hardcore, really committed. And he says, for 9 years, I've been in this fight, and we're so close, and it's all coming down to now. And you see the steel and the commitment of the mission, and how he, and through us supporting him, have drawn the bad guys out to really reveal them, where even if they kill Trump or steal this election, it's a Pyrrhic victory. I don't see how they ever put the genie back in the bottle. Global realignment against the globalist, populists taking over or winning elections everywhere. Elon Musk saying, I'm going to fight the New World Order where the UN's the enemy. They don't run our lives. We didn't elect them. And you can say, well, we already know that. Dinesh D'Souza knew that in the Reagan administration. I knew that 30 years ago. Well, it doesn't matter. Now it's everywhere. So we have to look at the victory culturally of identifying these global kleptocrats, and how, whatever happens, however the chips fall, we have to understand it's in God's plan. But I cannot imagine in my spirit that they're going to be able to steal this despite everything they're doing. Here's the clip, and then we'll get back to your film. I want to play the trailer for it. Everybody needs to go see it in theaters. They need to check it out. DineshD'Souza.com. It's so important everybody see the film. But here's the clip of Trump.
This country is finished, and I say it loud and clear. Everything we've been fighting for so hard to achieve for the past 9 years all comes down to the next 2 days. Think of it. We've worked in this for 9 years, and we got a phony press. We got a lot of crooked people out there. We're fighting like a son of a gun. We're fighting. They are fighting so hard to steal this damn thing. Look at what's going on. Look at what's going on in your state. Every day, they're talking about extending hours and stuff. Who ever heard of this stuff? We should have one-day voting and paper ballots. Then I just heard that a couple of states may go an extra 12 days. How the hell do you have an election? You know, they spend all of this money on these damn machines, and paper ballots, you'd have the answer by 9 o'clock tonight. It's a damn shame, and I'm the only one that talks about it because everyone's afraid to damn talk about it. And then they accuse you of being a conspiracy theorist. These are conspiracy, and they want to lock you up. They want to put you in jail. The ones that should be locked up are the ones that cheat on these horrible elections that we go through in our country. And I don't know what's going to happen, but for future elections, I won't be even a part of it. But you ought to damn well go to paper ballots. You ought to go to voter ID. And you ought to have the election over by 9 o'clock. I'm hearing now they're going to take weeks. Can you imagine? They spend all this money on machines, and they're going to say, we may take an extra 12 days to determine. And what do you think happens during that 12 days? What do you think happens? These elections have to be decided by 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock on Tuesday night. Bunch of crooked people. These are crooked people.
All right, so that's what Trump's really like. And that's the warrior right there. I think people should really pay attention because we're living in a historical moment. And as you know, as a historian, most people later say we didn't realize we were in the middle of such a historic time. You can cut the suspense with a knife, Dinesh D'Souza.
You know, you can see that he's gone through the kind of moment of epiphany. And that moment of epiphany was actually not when he came down the escalator in 2015 and first announced that he's running for president. I think he thought that the country was in a mess, that it was a swamp, but he greatly underestimated how deep and vicious the swamp was. But he knows now. I mean, I saw it in a small way myself when I was sitting across from these lawyers from the SDNY, the Southern District of New York, and I realized that, you know, those guys would, if they could, have put me in prison for 20 years for a trivial campaign finance violation. They would have done it. And I realized, you know what? We have. This is the gangsterization of the U.S. government. Our politics is not a debating society. It's a whole different thing. I've got to revise my view of America, and I did. And Trump has done it as well. You know, it's like in the movie The Patriot. At some point, you realize that the British aren't just sort of trying to rule you and tax you. They're going to come and burn down your house, you know, and destroy your family. And you have nothing to lose at this point. I think Trump is there already. It's actually a great thing to see because that's the kind of leader we need. And it's also interesting to see the way in which other people coming in the Trump wake or in the Trump train, people like Tulsi Gabbard and Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Elon Musk. I mean, look at the distance that these people have traveled just in the last 12 months or so to bring them to where they are. So I think this is an historic moment, but it's an historic moment that we might all look back, I'm hoping, with just electrifying excitement.
You are the most elegant guest and eloquent guest. That the way you put things is perfect here because that's what I'm seeing and feeling and intellectually understanding and spiritually experiencing. This is just epically obvious, and you just hit it. That's what I was getting to earlier, but you just nailed it. The inspiration he's given us with his will and his determination is giving a lot of people that hadn't woken up as early as you or I by experience to it. And instead of having to experience it, it's kind of transmuting into people, and the courage is contagious. And that's why I said 10 minutes ago, I don't see how they ever get their globalist program back. I mean, I don't know if you know, Elon Musk came out and declared war on the New World Order in the UN today. I mean, literally, I mean, it's you call it the radicalization because we're up against a radical enemy. We're facing corrupt, godless, transhumanist world government. We know that because we study their own documents. Now, Dinesh, it's front and center, and it's never going back again. Comments on that?
Yeah, we knew going back even in the Reagan years that there was not just a bias, but a corruption in the media, a corruption in academia, and a sicko corruption in Hollywood. We knew this. What we didn't know is that there was an equivalent corruption in the FBI, in the CIA, in the military, in the medical establishment, the people in the white coats, in the polling industry, pollsters disguising their preferences as, oh, this is what the people want. So I think we've realized now that the rot is much deeper and wider than we had previously suspected. And Trump is the guy who has brought it all out. It's almost as if this guy is a kind of, like one of those magnets that is drawing all the base metals out of the ground. And it's all flying out of the ground right now, and we can see it. And now there's some people who don't see it. I mean, we've got to remember there's some people in this culture who are not getting information. They're not getting any alternative news. They're only getting the mainstream news. And the propaganda is also reaching dizzying heights. So the question is, will the propaganda work, Or will the ordinary guy be shrewd enough to say, you know what? These people are selling me a lie and I can see through the smoke and mirrors. That's what I'm counting on for tomorrow.
Absolutely. Real quick, here's the trailer for Vindicating Trump. It's there for the whole world right there on X at Dinesh D'Souza, Dinesh D. D'Souza. Everybody get it. Share it now. Here's the trailer.
Everybody has to help this country, and if they don't, the country and the world are in big trouble.
Someone's got to overturn the tables in the temple.
Trump jumping into the presidential race.
She's a bit worried.
Of the Apprentice guy? You know the feeling of power. Could you handle it or would it devour? Power.
They fear that power. You didn't do an insurrection. Had you called for one, there would have been one. And there would be one if you called for one now.
I'm not sure I want that power. I want the power just to make the country better. America first!
And that scares them.
A lot about Donald Trump scares them.
Let's look at everything. Campaign, his family. Let's get foreign eyes on him. We have one target. You know who he is.
Going after their companies, their families. That is a dictator.
It's a very dangerous time for our country.
The goal is to put him in jail because they're so afraid of his voice.
I am your voice.
We'll bury him so deep in legal, it'll bankrupt them. Broke Donald in jail right before the election. That's
Sorry for being that guy, but isn't that election interference?
It's not interference if we do it.
We just want a free and fair election.
Sounds expensive.
Ballots ain't cheap.
Wait. Did you actually say the word buy the ballots?
We were able to purchase 10,000 ballots.
That's terrifying.
They cheat in many different ways. That's all they're good at.
Ready to save democracy?
We need to stop him permanently.
And that person will be risking his life.
Too bad it's not the 60s, right?
It's the way you survived.
I said, get me up.
Trump has beaten back every attack against him.
It's like the damn Terminator.
We're going to fix our borders, and we're going to fix our elections. We're going to win.
This is my legacy.
Vindicating Trump.
The best is yet to come.
Only in theaters, September 27th.
I don't say this lightly. I haven't seen the movie yet. And the fact that it's been out and I haven't seen it, I'm ashamed of. That looks like your best film. Like it's a documentary, but it's also got top actors. I mean, wow, step aside Steven Spielberg, and it's all true. Incredible. Vindicating Trump. Dinesh D'Souza, I hope to be talking to you in a few days. Give us an update. I hope we're celebrating a huge landslide they couldn't steal. But regardless, we'll fight on, my friend. God bless you.
Thank you very much.
Wow. Best part about my job is I get to know all the heroes like Dinesh D'Souza and Tucker Carlson and Donald Trump. And heroics is contagious. They're coming after every...